Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, and this evening we'll be looking at the topic emotional quotient over intelligence quotient, building emotionally intelligent HR leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, our facilitator for tonight is one of our core team members here at HR Mentorship and a regular facilitator on this platform. Irene is a human resource professional with over 12 years of cross-sector experience spanning oil and gas, technology, construction, and asset management. She did her first degree in guidance and counseling and has a master's in personnel psychology. She brings a people-centered and strategic approach to HR, and our focus areas include organizational development, workplace wellness, and helping business align people strategies with performance goals. She also mentors several HR professionals and support business leaders in creating thriving, high-performing work environments. Speaking to us on the topic EQ over IQ, let's welcome Irene Obagu. You have the floor, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again tonight. And happy holidays here. We have holiday today. How has our day been? As usual, I like to check that I'm not alone here. I'd like to see some reactions in our chat. Okay. Yeah, Bukola message. Oh, yeah, they went well, very well, thank you. Jinika said we can't complain much. Yeah, so what do? We can't complain much. Okay, so yeah, Pat Jonah, I hope I got that says went well. Okay, it's good to know that we are all geared up for this, and we hope it's going to be a smooth evening so that we can rest and enjoy our holiday because it's a long one. Okay, so let's jump into it. As earlier introduced, we'll be looking at emotional quotients over intelligent quotients, building emotionally intelligent workforce. So I'm going to jump right into it. So setting the stage, why are we here? Why should we be looking at that? Why this topic? You know, because we would think that when people have emotional intelligence, that should be enough to carry them. But it's also important that we look at the other aspects that drives or that helps us to achieve success. So why this topic? Because, of course, I am a strong advocate of, I'm very big on talking about the future of work and the now of work. So we know that workplace is changing. Workplace has become complex. We have hybrid work, we have multi-generational teams, we have AI, coming up now. So it's important that we look at things that, will help us to do better and get better at what we do. IQ gets you the job. EQ helps you thrive, basically. So yes, if you have intelligence, you can get the job, If you can be a high flyer, you can do excellently well at interviews, you can wow us to get the job. Keeping the job is another work. So IQ gets you the job, EQ helps you to thrive, because it is when you're emotionally intelligent, when you are able to use your emotions to your advantage and to also better the people around you, that's when you are able to thrive, So that's why that's what we're looking at the topic. So I have a quote here: people will forget what you said, but they will never how you made them feel. This is a quote by Maya Angelou. So why this topic? We're looking at this topic because yes, I can remember that, oh, this was what you said, you were so fantastic at the interview and you got the job. When you get on the job, how you make people feel is what they will remember. Nobody will remember. I'm sure Some of us cannot even remember what we said at interviews when we're going to get the job. 1, 2, 3 years down the line. You know, it is how you're making people feel, your co-workers, the work environment, texture of the environment around you. That's what people tend to remember, you know. So that's why we are looking at this topic tonight. And I believe we're going to get value for our time, like I said. Okay, so what is emotional intelligence? Because EQ is emotional intelligence. So what is it? Why are we talking about people to be emotionally intelligent? Why should you have emotional quotient, you know, as against just having, and sure in the before would normally concentrate on, oh, somebody should be intelligent, you know. So Daniel Coleman defines having EQ, ability to recognize, understand, manage own emotion, and influence others. We could call it maturity. You know, it is the ability for you to recognize. It is more like knowing yourself very well to the point that you are able to influence others. You know. So what are the core components of EQ? So we have one, self-awareness, we have self-regulation, we have motivation, we have empathy, we have social skills. So why does it matter? What can you do with it? Yes. Why does it matter to be emotionally intelligent? Why are we talking about EQ? What can EQ do for you? What can you do with it? EQ, you know. So emotional intelligence is a concept that relates to how we understand and manage ourselves and how we relate to others. So that is why it matters. It matters because it is how we relate, how we understand and manage ourselves, and how we are able to relate with others. Because sometimes, like when they say love your neighbor as yourself, I used to tell people, sometimes some people don't love themselves. So, you know, so if you don't understand yourself, you might not even be able to relate to others better. So that is why it matters. Then what can you do with it? What can you do with emotional intelligence or emotional quotient? It is the ability to perceive and express emotions. It helps you to assimilate emotions in thoughts, you know, understand and reason with emotion and regulate emotion in self and others. That is what you do with it when you have it. Why it matters. It is also known as emotional intelligence is also known as executive competencies, interpersonal communication, relationship management, social intelligence, leadership development. So if we're talking about emotional intelligence, we're talking about emotional quotient. Those are the things we're referring to, you know. So EQ versus IQ. Remember I said IQ will get you the job, but EQ will help you to thrive. So we're going to look at why that is. Because if somebody is intelligent, we automatically expect the person to thrive. So cognitive IQ is cognitive ability, you know, problem solving, while EQ is people management and adaptability. So you can be intelligent, you can have great problem solving skills, but you are poor at managing people. You are poor at adaptability, you know. So that's basically the difference between both, you know. IQ helps you to like showcase yourself, get you to the stage, but how you maintain the stage is EQ, you know. So research shows that 90% of top performers have high EQ. Yeah, we can think, oh, they're thriving because they're intelligent. No, they're thriving because they can manage people, they can adapt, they can handle situations smartly, you know. The smartest isn't always the best leader. Let's remember that when we are thinking about EQ and IQ, let us remember that the smartest isn't always the best leader. So what are the things that we think differentiates EQ from IQ from EQ, you know? So we have cognitive, intellectual logic, analytic, and rational abilities, personal information bank, memory, vocabulary, etc. You know, they're able to gauge how well one acquires and organizes knowledge. That's EQ. That's, you're very smart, you're cerebral. Those are the things that those are the things that make somebody have high emotional quotients, high intelligent quotients. So what are now the things that we are looking at, or that makes us know that we have emotional quotients, So we're looking at emotional, social, communicative, and rational ability. So they grab their own as well as others, and they understand themselves and they understand others. They have a good grasp of themselves, and they are able to also understand others. They are able to gauge how well one copes with environmental demands and pressures. So those are the differences between IQ and EQ. So one shows that you are highly intelligent, the other shows that the other is about feeling, the other is about intelligence. That's basically the difference between the two of them. If I'm speaking too fast, you can tell me to slow down. And if I'm not fast enough, you can also let me know. So the 4 EQ skills, because we understand emotional intelligence is what a lot of us still think, oh, it's about just understanding ourselves. It's about understanding ourselves and understanding others. So I have it separate here. So personal competence and social competence. Those are the things that you need to have for you to be emotionally intelligent. So it's about what you see and what you do. So for what you see, personally, you're self-aware, and we're talking about your social competence, you are socially aware. You're aware of your environment, you're aware of the landscape which you operate, so you don't get carried away. So that also leads to what you do. You have self-management, you're able to manage yourself no matter the situation. And for social competence, you're able to manage relationship. Relationship management is one of the skills that makes you emotionally intelligent. So impact and success. What emotional intelligence and EQ and IQ does for you, it helps individuals to strive for success in living, working, learning, and social interactions with self and others. So when you understand yourself, you are able to relate with people. That's just basically what we've been saying. And that also determines how successful you will be, because you're able to know where to strive, how to strive. You're able to pursue your dreams, and you're able, in the process of pursuing your dreams, to be careful what you do and how you do it. So I have a diagram here that breaks down the components and how you measure success of emotional quotient. So emotional quotient is further broken down into other sub items. Interpersonal emotional quotients, we have that helps you to be self-regard, emotional self-awareness, and assertiveness, independence, self-actualization, empathy. So interpersonal EQ. So we have intra and we have inter. Intra is, about yourself. Interpersonal EQ is empathy, social responsibility, interpersonal relationship, Then we have stress management. When you have solid emotional quotient, you're able to manage your stress better. So there's stress tolerance, there's impulse control, there's reality testing. That's where you're able to, it's just like there's this saying that you're in control of your reactions. Anyhow you react is how you want to react. Where we tend to say, oh, somebody made us do it. If you have control of your emotions, sometimes nobody will make you do some certain reactions, So that also relates to how you manage stress. Some people just let stress break them down. That's because they don't even know themselves enough, let alone to now know how they relate with people. For example, if you know yourself so much, you will know the kind of things to avoid and how to relate with certain people so they don't get on your nerves, or so you don't get on their nerves. And at the end of the day, there's no tension anywhere. Adaptability also is one of the skills that you're going to develop when you have emotional quotient. You're able to adapt to situation, you're able to adapt to environment, you're able to manage whatever comes your way. It also has to do with problem solving, and general mood EQ, optimism, happiness. So those are the things that EQ does for you. Those are the impacts it creates, and it helps you to be successful in what you do. So it gives you basically self-management and management of others. So developing EI. So we said, okay, emotional quotient is us understanding ourselves and how we relate with others. How do we manage others so that we react appropriately at all times. We can't be perfect, right? It's more like striving for perfection. So in developing EQ, there's certain things that we must learn to do. We must learn to listen to ourselves and our emotions. Sometimes we should learn to pause and listen, study yourselves so that you are able to understand. If you don't understand yourself, you will always misinterpret people as well. Because even you don't understand yourself here. So it is important that we listen to ourselves and listen to our emotions, identify and classify emotions. We should know our trigger point. We should know the thing that eats us up and things like that. So identify them, classify them. This thing will eat you up. This thing, you can still cope with it. So it is very important. It's just basically about being self-aware. Note differences between having and acting on emotions. So you must learn that, okay, you have an emotion and you are acting. Sometimes we act on emotions, not necessarily that we have those emotions, because sometimes when we act, what has made us to act is like taking off, it's like reinforcement. Hello? Somebody saying something? Okay. Please, can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I thought somebody wanted to say something. Okay. So you should be able to note the difference between having and acting on emotions. That is also very important. Because sometimes we actually act on emotions. It's not like we have those kind of emotions. And that's why it's easy for people to misinterpret you. It's easy for people to have let me say a wrong impression. Sometimes you can just see somebody talk to you that somebody is nasty. And you're wondering, I know this person is not like that. And that's because the person has acted on emotions. So it's not like those people have those emotions. So learn to distract. Now, this one. Sometimes learning to distract is tied to having and acting on emotions. Because if you know that you are going to act on emotions, you will learn to you look for a distraction for you not to act on that emotion. So that is that. So you take the time to note your impact on others. Don't be somebody that you don't care whatever you think. Some people just think, oh, some people just think not to care means like, okay, some people think not to mind what people say about them is owning themselves. Yeah, as much as you live your life, it's also important that you pay attention to how you impact others. What is your character, your behavior? How do you make people feel? What impact are they feeling? When you enter the room, what signal, what message are you sending? What aura, the aura for aura thing, what aura are you bringing when you enter the room? That is very important. It's important that we take our time to look at how we impact others, set goals internally or written, slow down, think, and act. So when we set goals there, sometimes we can set internal goals or have it at the top of our head that, okay, these are the goals. But sometimes when we have it written down, we're able to go back, think, and see what needs to be adjusted, what needs to be better, what we need to delete, and what we need to add. So we're able to think and we're able to act. So that is how we develop emotional quotient. Again, I'm going to run into listen to yourself, see how you make others feel, what energy do you bring to the room, and all that. So we're talking about emotional quotient, I'm talking about intelligent quotient. Like if people know, I'm a psychologist. Okay, so I like to look at some psychological theories that apply if I have any whenever I'm working on something, because it is actually very important to look at that. So we have Abraham Maslow's hierarchy, belonging, self-esteem, and actualization. A lot of us, and we know these theories. Unfortunately, I'm just going to mention them because we don't have time to break down the theories. It would be nice to just read them if you don't know them, but I tried to pick the common ones. So Abraham Maslow's hierarchy actually applies to having emotional quotient and intelligent quotient. This when we are self-aware, this when we know ourselves, that we know that, okay, this is what we want. That is how we're able to realize that, okay, we belong here. That's when we're able to build our self-esteem. That's when we're able to say that, okay, it applies to career development, it applies to general life. You see that some people leave organization, they tell you because of career self-actualization, or because we're not having satisfaction, So these theories help us to understand that these things are not just what we are just saying. There are things that have been tested and proven for us to know that really, if we build these skills does matter. We have Ensbank's two factor theory, recognition and respect. It is when we recognize people's emotions and how we treat them. That's when we're able to respect it. It is when we are self-aware. That's when we're able to know that, okay, we are being respected. And when we're being respected, it is only natural for us to respect others. So recognition and respect is another very important one. That's I have psychological theory about. So social exchange theory is trust through positive interactions. Is another theory of EQ where we are able to build trust through how we interact with people. So we're able to build trust through how we interact with people. That's another aspect of psychological theory that I thought to bring to our attention. So I have some case studies. EQ in action. So there's a popular case study that I don't know if any of us have seen it. The Airbnb layoff. We saw how they handled their layoff. Again, I'm just going to mention them. We could read them all because if we want to look at the case studies, we're not going to leave here tonight. So in Airbnb case, they handled the case with like very, very, with so much emotion, with respect. They respected their people. They showed them care. They showed them love. They showed them that they were not abandoned. So I'm trying to not to go into talking about the layoff now, but it's something is on the internet. It's something we need to get our hand on. So if they made provision for after work care. They understood. They didn't paint it. They didn't tell them, oh, we'll be fine. No, they made them realize that it's going to be difficult, right? But we are going to see you through. So why I'm bringing this case for HR manager handling layoff is we need to understand that in doing layoffs, we have to emotionally intelligent. IQ, procedural, factual, straight to the point, you have read policies and procedures, just act on it. But EQ helps you to be compassionate and supportive. So that was what Airbnb did. They were compassionate, they were supportive, even in their layoff, even though the layoff was something that had to happen, but they took their time. Even though the people will feel the effect of the layoff, even though the people will feel that, oh, they've lost their job, but at the end of the day, they made them feel better. At the end of the day, they made them feel better. And they showed them that they were going to be there for them through the process, as against the procedural layoff where you just act on your policy, where the policy says this and this and this is the fact, and hey, you guys come and go. So that's that. In layoff, it is important that we have, even though we apply IQ and EQ. Yeah, IQ for us to interpret our policies and procedures, but EQ for us to be compassionate and supportive. And if we apply EQ really in layoff, it's also going to build our brand, and we are going to build ambassadors, really. So, results. Yeah, I've already said that. So the result is dignity is preserved and trust is maintained. When we apply EQ, when we are compassionate, the dignity of the people we're laying off is preserved. They don't feel dejected, and trust is maintained. They trust us enough to know that, okay, we have to do this. In the case of Airbnb, in fact, there's no how anybody is going to be, like the way they explained it was so humane, it was so filled with emotion that the people won't have a choice but to trust Airbnb that really they had to do this. And whatever Airbnb says, the people will stand by them because they know that Airbnb kept to their words. So how EQ shapes workplace interaction? EQ helps us in conflict resolution, team dynamics and inclusion, decision-making balance, HR practice such as recruitment, onboarding, and feedback. EQ and HR leadership. Implication for HR. Why are we here talking about EQ? Why are we here talking about? We can't just have IQ. It's not enough for us to be smart. It's enough for us to watch our emotions. It's more for us to watch. It's not enough for us to be smart. It's more for us to watch our emotions. How do we treat people? How do we relate with people? How do we handle issues? Especially as we grow in our career and as we're becoming leaders, Yeah. So implications for us in HR is we need to apply EQ to our recruitment and onboarding, our performance management, our employee wellness, So at the end of the day, when we're able to do this, the cultural impact that we have is we build inclusiveness, we build belonging, and we build resilience. So that makes our leading people easier, So EQ in organizational culture. We know culture is the way we feel and behave here. This is our culture. This is how we do things. And when we're talking about culture, we're basically talking about how things are done. In this place, ABC is how we do things. That's culture. We're now saying, let's look at EQ in culture. EQ leaders, they create psychological safety. Your people know that they're psychologically safe because, use storytelling and role modeling for them to see that, okay, whatever is happening or whatever they are going through, whatever they have to do, is something that is doable. It's something that they are not alone. When we do role modeling, we're letting them know that you're not the first to do this. There are people that have done it and they have succeeded. Actually, when we're working on projects, it's very important that we use storytelling and role modeling as leaders, build compassionate policies. Not when you hear some kind of policies, you're like, we see somebody that sat down and put this together. Yeah, we know that we need to protect the business. We know that we need to make money because if we don't make money, all this story we're talking about HR, we're just here talking. But we have to build compassionate policies, not some certain harsh policies that when you see them, you first of all ask if the person, like, what planet did the person that built this policy come from, And again, that's also helping us build a people-centric workforce. So scenario 2, we have looked at Airbnb and we have looked at how they applied EQ and how they made their employee feel, even in the face of layoff. A scenario 2, yeah, I tried to pick some popular ones. In 2022, we saw what Elon Musk did with Twitter. The layoff was just so sudden, it was abrupt, it was laced with some rudeness, and they didn't manage it well. And what happens in that kind of case? It's high, the impact is turnover, disengagement, toxic culture. We all were on Twitter, or even if you're not on Twitter, I'm sure you saw the story. Because as HR people, we try to follow these stories, and it was just like when they were talking about bad places to work or bad bosses on Twitter, different spaces here and there. Those are the things that happens when there's low EQ. Low EQ is like it damages your brand. Low EQ breeds toxic culture where everybody is just barely surviving, looking for the next opportunity to get out of the place, So contrast, empathetic leaders, they build loyalty, because if I know you're not empathetic to me, I'll just be there because, well, maybe because I need the money to survive at that moment, but I'm already having my exit plan. So how do we build EQ as HR leaders? I have a few tips here. It could be more. These are just tips for us to ponder on, like starters for us to work on. Active listening, emotional granularity, empathy maps, feedbacks on leadership style, micro habits, pause, validate, ask questions. Yes, we might think we're doing the right thing, but sometimes at some point it's good that we pause, validate and ask questions. This thing that we have implemented, how is it going? Do surveys, sample polls, you could do anonymous sampling, like I do it a lot. I always tell people wherever I work, I have run an open door policy. If you want to talk to me, feel free. And if you don't want to even come and meet me and say, oh, HR, this, slip a note on my desk or slip a note in my office, I'll pick it, I'll read it. If it's something that needs to be implemented, I'll implement. So those are micro habits that we need to pay attention to. Those are tips that we use to build EQ as HR leader. Those are tips that helps us to learn, to get used to our people. It helps us to get to understand people so that we know how to manage them better. Okay, so the bottom line of what we are saying is we're moving from mandated to genuine cooperation. So we're moving from a situation where people are mandated to do something. People just do it because HR shall want me to do it. Or if I don't do it now, maybe you'll not pay my salary. Or if I don't do it now, people will do things because they are cooperating with you, not because they are mandated to do it. When people are mandated to do something, it tends to be done shabbily, it tends to be done in a hurry. They just want to do it grudgingly, well, because they asked me to do it. As against when they are genuinely cooperating and helping you drive your policies, your people's strategy, everything you have to implement. You see that it's less headache and less stress for you when people genuinely cooperate. So bottom line of why are we talking about IQ, EQ, building a better workforce? It is basically to make our work easier. So that's leaders, we must be more people-oriented. Coaching and teamwork are the predominant function. I was talking to somebody a few days back. We have moved past the era of, okay, for example, line managers. There's this misconception that line managers just believe that HR is there to just give query. They don't even know that they are the first HR to their reporting line. And even after you have made them realize that, or even after training and all that, you just realize that they just think HR is the one to just do the things they should do. Meanwhile, our role is advisory. Some organizations or some of our colleagues or some of the people we work with still don't realize that our role is advisory. They think we're police. Bam, I've got a thief, come arrest it, things like that. So over time, we need to coach people as against, just stressing ourselves and doing the things that we should not be doing. We could coach managers to know that, look, it is how you relate with your people. You need to understand your people. That is how you get genuine cooperation from them. It's not like babies, children. I don't know if anybody has noticed. When you want to force children to do something, you don't get it done. My 5-year-old, I need to practically explain to him that, this is how we need to be. In fact, my 11-month-old baby, when you want him to do something, sometimes when you force him, the guy will resist. So that's it. You gradually have to let them know this is why they have to do this. Sometimes the people will relate. We need to see them as babies, I'm not saying babysit them, but we need to know that, okay, they must understand this is why we want to do what we are doing, so that they can tag along, you know. But when people don't understand why that is why in change management, you see that there's resistance to change, because people are so used to what they know how to do. People are so used to their comfort zone. So when you don't understand them and they don't understand you, there's a problem. But with emotional quotient, you are able to know that, oh, okay, this person, this is the level at which I can relate to this person. For the person to understand that this is what I want to achieve. That way you are able to get genuine cooperation. So that's the bottom line of why we are talking about IQ versus EQ. So I have a few tools and model again. They're just going to be mentioned. We could look at how to use them. Some of us are used to the 360 feedback tools where everybody has a feedback. You know, it's not like they see it like, okay, this is not somebody's impression about me. This is everybody's impression about me, or this is everybody's judgment, you know. That's one tool. Emotional contagion theory is something we also need to look at. I'm just leaving them out there. You might want to jot them because we don't have the whole night to look at them one after the other, except we might have to do seminars on breaking down these tools and models for HR some other time. Coaching framework, we have the GROW framework, the appreciative inquiry, you know. So those are the tools and models we could use as HR people to build emotional quotients and also to coach our workforce on emotional quotients. It's very important that we just look them out, see how they're being applied. Okay, so we've been saying emotional quotients, emotional intelligence, how emotional intelligence will get you the job, and how emotional quotients helps you to thrive. So we're going to look at Nigerian workplace, emotional quotients from the Nigerian workplace angle. So we're looking at cultural respect and hierarchy. The challenge, authority is equal to emotional distance. When the challenge we have here is because of our landscape, because of we and respect now, respect is hierarchy for us. So what challenge does that pose? The people in authority, we are sort of emotionally distant from the my oga, you know, we fear and respect in Nigeria is just a thin line, you know, that sometimes some people don't even know when to cross it or how to cross it, you know. So that sort of makes us distant from our leaders, and the leadership and subordinate gap. Why? Because of authority. That's a challenge in the typical Nigerian workplace because you're looking at your boss. So what can we do? We reframe that. We are firm but humane. Yes, we know that, oh, we are the boss, or the manager is the boss, or the MD is the boss. But what can we do? We need to reframe that emotional distance, that authority that creates the emotional distance. We need to reframe it. So being firm but humane. There are two different things. Yes, or to be, I know the leadership style where you have to be authoritative. Like if you ask me what's my leadership style, I would always say it's situational. Sometimes we need to be authoritative, right? That's why if you ask me what my leadership style, I will always say it's situational. Primarily democratic, then secondarily authoritative. Authoritative because sometimes we don't have time on our hand. We need to take responsibilities. We need to take a quick decision. We don't have time for everybody's opinion and all that. But that does not mean we're throwing away emotion. So when we are talking about reframing, being firm but human, as much as we know that something has to be done, there's a nice way to say it and get it done. As against creating this emotional distance because of authority, where you just say, go and get this thing done, that's it, and you just move on. You know, without even caring how you said it, how the person perceives it, or whether you are forcing this person to do it, or the person is doing it because of the way you have spoken with this person, you know, like getting cooperation on what to do. So, example here is Niger traffic stress, EQ versus assumption. So you see that like, I wonder when some people are in traffic, or a case study of, let me use Ikate. Somebody is stuck in Ikate erosion. It has happened to me. And you'll be seeing online, people be posting pictures. Why should I send picture to you? If you don't trust me enough. Do you understand? Or somebody says, I'm in traffic. There was this day that I think they were fighting at Adesanya, right? And I was stuck in that fight. From that Abraham Adesanya to Lekki, both was charging 25,000 naira. Anybody that knows that area. So imagine if I have to snap my boat ride, the ride I was booking, or I have to snap that there's a fight. You don't believe that there's traffic that could last 3-4 hours from Abraham Adesanya to Lekki. We live in Lagos. We know the traffic jam can just happen unannounced. We have seen workplaces where people are being penalized before being stuck in traffic. Come on. People, it's a different case if the person is a perpetual liar and the person does it perpetually. I would understand why you don't believe the person. But somebody comes up to you and says, I'm stuck in this traffic, and you just assume the person is lying. What happens to empathy, which is part of EQ? You know. So that's why I was thinking of the best example to explain how sometimes we just assume without applying our emotions. You know, you just assume that, oh, this person doesn't want to come to work. Why should somebody be snapping being stuck in erosion to send to HR, or snapping the traffic to send to HR? Come on now, we have other things to do. You know, so I don't know. Later, I don't know. In fact, I want to know, is there anybody that has another Niger case? Because I was thinking of a typical Niger case, and it was Lagos traffic that came to my mind. I think I've been talking to more. Let's even have a chat in the chat box. So is there anybody that has a typical, a classical Nigeria example for me? I'm looking in my chat box again. Oh, God bless you. Somebody said, the former HR traditional, yeah, Pembochi, okay. Yes, Ikate flooding. I'm sure you know it, Ayinde Abiodun. Okay, so Omonua Eikioya said, on asking candidate to present 3-month payslip from previous employer, ask me, like, where did that practice come from? Oh, you asked me to bring my payslip. Somebody last year, and I think I borrowed that, said any company that asked him to present payslip, he went to ask the company to present their financial statement. Since like, how will I be presenting my payslip? I've told you, or asking me how much was my previous salary and why do I want to earn ABC? Somebody's previous salary, right? Somebody's current or previous salary is not a determinant of the person's value. You don't know why this person was even earning that previous salary in the first place. Maybe this person was stranded, this person needed to survive, this person just jumped on whatever was available. Why will you be judging somebody what the person is currently earning or what the person was previously earning, for heaven's sake? If the person is a talent and the person has displayed value and you think you can afford the person, what's your business what the person was earning? That's my own take. I don't know why some other HR people do it. I would really want to know why they request for payslip, really. I still is one of the practices I have found that I'm still trying to wrap my head around why. And nobody has been able to really justify why. The big fours even do it. Why are you asking for my payslip? To know how much I was earning. If I have told you this is how much I was earning and you're looking for a proof, if you don't trust me in the first place, why do you want to employ me? There's already distrust. Why do you want to employ me? If you don't trust me in the first place. Ginika said, where did we get it from? I honestly, I wish there was somebody that could tell me. Some people even go as far as asking, judging them on their looks with what they should earn. Really, I've heard about. I don't think anybody that I know has. Why will you judge me on what I'm wearing and what I'm earning? If what I'm earning currently, if that's what I can afford, if I was comfortable where I was, I would not come and apply to your organization in the first place. It's because I want more pay. That's why I'm leaving, or maybe because I want a better culture. So in fact, I didn't think of all this example. It was just Lagos traffic that just came to my mind when I was looking for a typical example of a Nigerian workplace. So that is that. When we should learn to apply emotional quotient. We should learn to use. It's not like our emotions should cloud our judgment, right? But we should learn to apply emotion when we deal with people, because at the end of the day, we are dealing with people. We are dealing with people. And how we treat them matters. They will not remember what we said. Like I said when I was starting, some of us have said things maybe during interview that we can't even remember. But we can remember how our colleagues or the workplace is making us feel. Nobody will remember what you said. Everybody will just, is that what I want to be thinking when I have other things to face? It is how you're making me feel right now that I'm going to remember. So the future of work is equal to EQ leadership. That's the future of work. We are going to a place where it is how you treat people that determines whether, in fact, I'm sure you will see some organization is like their recruitment for a particular role never closes. You just see this organization, there's a particular organization, I've been seeing their HR manager. I'm like, I know they feel this role, that is where the future of work is going. EQ is equal to leadership. If you do not apply emotional quotients, if you're not treating people nicely, you're going to get to a point where you just have openings that nobody will apply for. AI covers for IQ tasks. That's the truth. But human value shifts to EQ. So emotional quotients, as much as we know it's very relevant, AI has covers for some of the tasks that we will normally need intelligence for. What is remaining is for us to know how to use AI. I always tell people, it is if you don't know how to use AI, that AI is going to take your job. AI, for me, is my executive assistant. If you know how to use AI, it's to your advantage. It reduces stress. So AI is covering for some of the tasks that we normally would have done, requiring IQ. Yes, we need IQ to interpret what AI is giving us, right? But in the face of AI, everything, AI cannot replace emotional quotient. AI cannot replace emotional quotient. It's not on the left. Human value is shifting to EQ. If you don't treat people well, if you don't place value on them, you are going to, at the end, wake up one day and realize that your organization is empty. Gen Z and millennials value empathy-driven cultures. Whether we like it or not, we are multi-generational workforce. And Gen Z and millennials are a lot more. Even though Gen Z, they are meeting like about 4 generations are in the workplace together. But the bulk of them are Gen Zs and millennials, And these guys, they don't have chill. They don't have chill. I'm smiling because I have close to like 10 Gen Zs, nephews, cousins that are currently working. And so I learn from them. I sort of have chit chat with them. What's up? Nice work. I have one in my house. It tells me, look, if these guys do anything until I'm moving tomorrow, I'll pay them their 1 month. Do you understand? Guys, they don't have chill. So and whether we like it or not, we are going to have to work with them. They are more driven to empathy-driven cultures. If you think you can just wake up one day and we see them as disrespectful. There was this time we had a conversation on the HR mentorship group, and I'm like, I don't have problems with Gen Z. Amazingly, a lot of people are talking about Gen Z, and maybe because I have a lot of them, or maybe I sort of reason with them. Yes, they can be nasty without even knowing that they're nasty. So what I do is I call them and say, this was wrong. You shouldn't have done it. Like, oh, auntie, I didn't know. It's just about understanding them. So that's basically what we are saying. The future of work now is such that leadership must have emotional quotient. And when I'm talking about leadership, I'm talking about anybody that manages anybody. I'm not talking about the MDs. I'm not talking about the CEOs. No, as long as you are not at the lower ladder, even if you're at the lower ladder, you're growing to become a leader. It is important that we build emotional quotient skills. Very, very important that we build emotional quotient skills. So, call to action for HR leaders, like I said, why we are looking at these things is we need to know how we are building these skills to build our workforce. We need to know at what point we should check ourselves. We have to constantly audit ourselves. We are not we cannot know it all. We keep evolving. As the world is evolving, we as human beings we are evolving. So when you think your emotional intelligence, it's good that you pause at some time and do an audit. Check how you react to things. Check other people's faults around you. Train EQ in leadership. Look at your workforce when you're doing your workforce planning, when you're planning for your training calendar. It's important that we embed EQ trainings such that we as HR, we are trying to relate with people well. Don't forget that we're not the one managing this guy, the workforce directly. There are managers, such that our work is easier when we train leaders to have EQ. Some people do not even know that they don't have EQ. So we could do our skill gap analysis, we could do our surveys, and just build EQ skills into our training programs, embed empathy in policy. There's some policies that I see. Somebody brought an issue one day that because somebody is on leave, like annual leave, maternity leave cancels annual leave, there are certain policies that you just wonder where it came from. Somebody is sick, or somebody has gone somebody is sick and person has brought proof, then you want to take the proof to another person to verify. I'm like, come on, our policies, something. I don't have a bad policy. I'm trying to, but I know I've seen policies. Again, what bad policies have we seen that we think they are not empathic? There are some policies that will come across as HR people and we can't wrap our heads around it. I don't know. Is there anybody that wants to mention? I'm looking in the chat box. What example? So that we know some of the policies some of us don't even know that these policies are not empathic, So like I said, we're here to learn, relearn, unlearn, cross-learn. I like to use cross-learn particularly. Okay. So I want to learn. I might just have some policies that I think are good. So are there any examples of some policies that you have come across that you have seen that are inhumane, that are not empathic? I'm watching. Oh, yeah, I'm just in your chat. Yeah, your MD says you believe people easily. Yes. If the person wants to lie, let him lie. You know, why shouldn't I believe them when someone tells me when I have no reason to doubt the individual? I wonder. In fact, the time I'm wasting doubting the individual is enough for me to do other things. You know? Yeah, Gininka, yeah. One time you received a call from a cousin who sought your opinion about her friend being asked to present bank statement. Those are the things we see. Oh. Those are the things we see. What? Because please, what does the company do? Why are you submitting your phone to HR? Wow, some policies, sha. I've never seen this one. I've never heard. Really. So it's a policy in an organization. You submit. Wow, 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 wow. So those are the things. We have some of these policies that you just wonder where they came from, really. You know. Okay, so for HR leader, it is important that we look at this Simon Sinek's quote. Leadership is about taking care of those in your charge. It's like a one sentence, right? But it is heavy. As a leader, it is when you take care of those in your charge that you are truly leading. It even reduces your own work. So it is important that we look at ourselves, audit our emotional quotient, train our leaders or leadership pipeline or however we want to plan our workforce for our people to be emotionally intelligent. It is at the heart of it all for me is having empathy embedded in our policies. At the heart of it, of whatever we are saying. My own call to action, like I like to say, memo to fellow HR professionals, is that we have empathy at the heart of whatever policy we are proposing or making. Yeah, management can say, oh, go and write down this policy, but please, as much as possible, we should advise management on best practice and human practice so that we build a people-centric organization. Okay, so question and answer. From all that we have said, again, I'll take to the chat box. I'd like to know, was there ever a time EQ has helped you solve a workplace challenge? Is there anybody that would like to share? If you'd like to share, you could just, I don't mind you put up your hand. We could take a few. I'm trying to make this as brief as possible so we can close. If you'd like to speak, do you want to tell us about a time EQ has helped you to solve a workplace challenge? If you would like to speak, you could put up your hand. If you want to put it in the chat, I'll read it. Because at the end of the day, we are here to learn. I'm looking in my chat. I'm looking to see, is there anyone that wants to speak? Have you thought about any situation where EQ helped you to solve any challenge? Okay, we don't seem to have anyone ready for that now. So is there anybody that has a contribution for us? Is there anything you would like us to take away from tonight? Is there anything you would like us to add to building emotional quotient skill? Is there any suggestion you would like to add for us? If not, thank you from me. Okay. In 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It is thank you, ladies and gentlemen, as we have come to the end of today. I do hope you found value for your time. Thank you for joining, and good night, everyone.